Hope you had a good weekend, and I hope you're looking forward to a big week. I was thinking this weekend about the message I wanted to bring this morning, and really the thing that kept coming back to me was how important this week is. Not that last week wasn't important, but if you think about all the things we got coming up this week, it's a really big week. And I was trying to think about what message to bring you that might help us get a good start to the week. And then I was thinking about the messages that were brought last week. Started with Coach Wickland. Does anyone remember what Coach Wickland's message was?
Your fuel.
Your fuel. Meaning what? What drives you, what motivates you. I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how I was talking to a player that's here in this camp, and about how he hadn't been around much this summer, and I asked him, where you been? What have you been doing all summer? And he just said, I don't know. And I said, well, what did you do when you got up in the morning? What was your action plan? He said, I don't know. I think about Coach Wickland's message about what's your fuel. When you get up in the day, what is your action plan? What are you working towards? What's the ultimate goal you're trying to reach? If you're not doing something about it that day, what are you doing? You're wasting a day. Day becomes a week becomes a month, months become years. Next thing you know, what have you done? You guys remember Coach Spriggs' message from Wednesday? What's that? Overcoming adversity. How many of you guys had a little adversity last week? Just a few of you? I saw a lot of guys having some adversity, whether it was your fatigue in your body, learning new things, got some injuries. Remember Coach Spriggs' message? You got to overcome those adversities. Every mountain peak is really just another valley. It's the start of another climb to another mountain. This week's another mountain. You overcame some adversities last week. What are you going to do today, tomorrow, the rest of the week? That excites me, and to be honest. I think about Coach Spriggs' message, and that's what life is all about, right? That's what you get up in the morning to do. Brings fulfillment to your life. When you're working towards a goal, it's not easy, takes work. But then you get to that mountain peak, you feel like you made something, but then there's another challenge in front of you. Certainly there'll be challenges this week. How about Coach Stevenson on Friday? You remember that message? Huh? Say it again? Law of the jungle. What is the law of the jungle?
One person helps strengthen the team, but the strength of the team helps strengthen the person.
That's right. That one individual, is important, but the strength of the pack is the wolf, but the strength of the wolf is the pack, right? To me, one of the big messages come out of Coach Stevenson's talk was the fulfillment you can have as a player when you're bringing something to the team. Literally just the fulfillment of helping others. I've seen a lot of that this week. We need to continue that. Certainly that will be important to our overall success this week, next week, and the whole season. So today I was thinking about what can I do to add on to those messages, and I started thinking about my high school coach and all the messages he gave me. And my high school coach just retired last year. He was a coach in high school for over 20 years, and he's really an inspirational part of my life. In fact, a big, key, important influence on who I've become. And I think about all the messages he gave me about dedication and desire and determination. Not always in a speech like this. I remember him giving us messages while we're running killers. And there were times that I thought, geez, I don't know what I'm doing here playing high school football for this guy and listening to his message and working my tail off. But you know what? When I think about it, those messages of determination and desire and dedication and hard work, they become a big influence on my life, not only as a coach and obviously not only as a player, but as a husband and a teacher and a contributing member to society. And they still resonate with me. I think about those messages, and one thing that I remember him saying, or one of the messages that he gave me that was a large influence on our team my senior year, was he said, you can only soar as high as the standards you set. Basically what he was saying is what you expect, you will receive. What you expect, you will experience. And I think about this week and all the big things that are coming up this week. What do we got coming up this week? Tomorrow we got the challenge drill. And that can be fearful for some guys. You know, big contact drill. We got the film going. Some guys show up that morning and they're a little apprehensive. They're a little concerned about going into that drill. We got that tomorrow. Then on Thursday, we got a big inter-squad scrimmage under the lights, Panther Bowl. Okay, chance to work in a group and work on your technique and all the things that we've been doing this last week, all that showing all the things we've learned, and then we get a little more rest on Friday, short practice than we got on Saturday. Big scrimmage. 3 teams coming in, 3 quality teams coming in. Here's a chance for us to go out and perform and look at what we're doing well and look at what we need to do better. It's all on film, you know. Essentially kind of the pinnacle of what we've been doing the last two weeks with all these practices. So it's a big week, and sometimes I wonder, what do you expect out of those things? When you come tomorrow and it's a challenge drill, do you expect to get in the challenge drill and hold your own and work on the technique that you need to do to be successful in that physical drill? On Thursday in the inter-squad scrimmage, what do you expect? Do you expect to go out and just go through the motions, or do you expect to go out and work hard and make plays? Then on Saturday, what do you expect we're going to do on that first scrimmage at whatever we start, 10 o'clock I think the varsity starts? Are we going into that with an expectation that we're going to be successful? I think about a couple of years ago, maybe even just last 2 years, in one of my speeches I gave, I talked about the story of the elephant. Do you guys remember that? Anybody remember that? Reading about the story of how they train baby elephants? Oh, yeah. How when elephants are really small, they put these large chains on them, and they put these huge stakes in the ground so the elephant can't get too far away. And then by the time they're older, they're so trained, you know, they're in a circus or they're in some type of environment where they're around people, all they have to do is put around their ankles just a small little rope. But the elephant is so trained in that once something's around his ankle, he can't move. He doesn't pull that. He could easily snap that rope, but he doesn't. And I think about how that can relate to you and me. What do we expect coming up this week? You know, are we going to let perception hold us back? Just because you're a sophomore, does that mean you can't step up and help us out? Just because maybe you're not the most gifted and talented player, does that mean you can't help the team out? Does that mean you can't perform at the highest level? Another story that's similar to that, a couple years ago, actually several years ago, I went to a coaching clinic and the Boise State head coach was talking. Now this is back, everybody knows who Boise State is now, but this is back when Boise State was just coming onto the scene. You know, people just knew Boise State as the team with the blue turf, and they were just starting to become really successful, putting a bunch of wins together and challenging, you know, Big Ten and Pac-10 teams. And people are like, who's this team from Boise State? Well, once I heard the coach talk, I knew exactly why they were becoming successful. And the coach talked about how he had to instill in his players that even though they were Boise State, in a smaller conference, in Idaho, not a major center of football, you know, traditional center, he had to instill in his players the idea that they could compete with anybody. And he had instilled in them essentially this idea that they should fear nothing. And he used this phrase, cut the chains. He said, we use that as a phrase, and we said we got to cut those chains. The idea that, you know, you're just Boise State. You can't compete with Oklahoma. You can't compete with USC. You can't compete with the Miamis of the world, the Ohio States of the world. He said we need to cut those chains. And that became a slogan for that team that year. And they went on and they played in a bowl game, and the story was how they were playing Iowa in a bowl game. And they were killing Iowa. And it was, you know, everybody going to the bowl game thought that Iowa would handle them fine. And they were giving it to Iowa plenty. And they were up several touchdowns, and it was the fourth quarter, and they had an opportunity to make a play, and the coach was wondering, should I play it conservative? Should I just run the ball and then we'll punt? And all his players on the sidelines were chanting to the coach, cut the chains, cut the chains. And he talked about how, so he said, okay, so they ran this play where they ran a little play fake, they got the corner to bite, they threw a deep bomb, scored a touchdown, and the coach said how he got a lot of grief for that. You know, the press and a lot of the experts and analysis said that, you know, you're running the score up, and he had to explain to him, hey, that's how we play. We cut the chains. We're not going to play conservative. We're going to play on the edge. We're going to believe in what we do. We're going to go 100%. Okay. Saw a motivational speaker many years ago. His name was Paul Cummings, and he talked about how he lives his life at level 10. And he went on to explain what is level 10. And he said, when I was a kid, My father got me this guitar, this electric guitar, and this little amp to plug it in. And I taught myself how to play. But it drove my mother nuts because I'd be upstairs in my bedroom and I'd have that little amp. And if you guys know amps, you can turn them up and there are 10 levels. And he said, I always played at level 10, that guitar. And his mother would scream at him, turn that guitar down. Can't you play at level 4? And he said, no, I'm playing at level 10. And essentially said, that's become a mantra of my life. In fact, he has these pins. They say level 10. He wears one all the time. He says, if you're not working to be the best, and if you're not competing essentially at level 10, if you're not playing at level 10, then you're shortchanging yourself. And I think about that going into this week. Are we playing at level 10? Are you going out this morning? Are you going to cut the chains? Are you going to expect to play the best? Are you going to hesitate when there's a challenge? Or are you going to fight through it and say, I don't care, win, lose, or draw. I have the mentality of competing at the highest level, being successful, not caring about the fear. So I have a little demonstration that Paul Cummings, that guy I just mentioned with the level 10, he gave us this demonstration. He gave everybody a straw. How many of you guys have a straw? I gave them out. Okay. If you have a straw, Coach Wick, can you help me? You need a potato. Okay. And when you get that potato, hold up your straw so I can see who I'm throwing these potatoes to. Okay. You and the person sitting around you, or the people sitting around you, figure out how to put that straw, get that straw through that potato. Literally. Got a couple other straws there. Why don't you, Miguel, you got a potato? Go ahead. People sitting around you. Can you put that straw through that potato? Help them out if those people sitting around him. Here you go, Spence. Anybody successful yet?
We're working.
We're working it. All right, good enough. Let me show you how he demonstrated. Now, I practiced this a little bit last night, so I'm not going to guarantee it's going to work, but I was successful maybe half the time. But you're going to get the idea, okay? So he said, the problem with all of you attacking that potato is you're going at it too much brain, not enough heart. You're thinking, I'm going to get this straw through the potato. Let's just grinder in there using the drill technique. Jordy's using the blow technique. You know, some of you are like, it's impossible. And he said, that's the problem. You're not working at level 10. You're not playing at level 10. You're not believing that that straw can go through the potato. And the idea is if you really believe it and you work forcefully to get it, you can do it. So it just goes literally just like this. Now let's hope it works. All right. Get that straw through the potato, play at level 10. Here we go. That didn't work. All right, right here. Here we go. Try round 2. You get the idea. It'll work. Here we go. Level 10. Right there. Okay? That's the idea. It's not about slow drive. It's about no hesitation, JJ. It's about going for broke. It's about laying it all on the line. It's about level 10. All right? You can throw those potatoes away when you're done with them.
And another good lesson, if at first you don't succeed, back up and try it again.